I love hearing people come into my booth and just laugh at the crazy things that we've created.
So what's up? What's new? How you been?
Good. Just, staying busy.
I know.
How are you? How's Germany?
I absolutely love it. It's I tell everybody that I talk to, it's like waking up on a new planet every day, and slowly being able to morph yourself into the alien society and become more one with the people, like Avatar. And I really, really have found myself here.
That's awesome.
I get a lot of time to reflect on the more simpler things in life. I mean, one of the biggest activities in Germany is taking on a walk, spazieren gehen.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, we left Colorado and came out to Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And it is where we're at is a very slow pace compared to what we're used to. So I love it. And it's amazing when you take out all those distractions, you're able to really focus on the root of who you are.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when you come from a big city where there's always something to do, or there's some sort of stimuli, whether it's cop sirens or people yelling in the street, going to where it's quiet, it's definitely it's a change of pace and a change of mindset.
Yeah. I love it. So I can imagine. Yeah, that's awesome.
So you've been doing your own thing now for a little while.
Yeah, I started 7 years ago, and it's been awesome. I mean, I now own 2 companies since I started with a tiny little vinyl cutter back in the day. But it was pretty cool. I was able to start everything just with a small bonus check that I got from my boss that year. They weren't giving out bonus checks to everyone, and he felt like I did a stellar enough job that wrote it out of his personal account and gave me a bonus, and I decided to invest that in my own business. We had been kind of hearing through the grapevine that they were going to be selling, so I wanted to make sure I set myself up for success once they sold their business.
And you already knew right away what it is that you wanted to do?
For the most part, I had an idea as far as a need that needed to be met. When we started off, I started designing these tiny decals for roller bottles for essential oilers. And once I started doing my own designs and things like that, I was able to really kind of fall into my groove. Sorry, Skip. I've got a crazy Rottweiler up here.
Oh, don't.
Yeah, he wants to talk as well. So go see that. Yeah, he is quite the conversationalist, but perfect. He's down with his dad, so he can hang out down there for now.
He's a good boy.
But yeah, he's 163 pounds of goofy.
Oh, that's the best way. I grew up with a Rottweiler. Her name was Angel, and she was extremely protective, obviously, as they are wont to do, but she was so loving. Like, she could tell when you were sad, and she'd put her head under you, and just a really, really smart dog.
Yeah, he's a little lover. He's definitely spoiled, but we love him. We've had 5 now, and we love our ratties. But yeah, so he's my shop dog, so he likes to hang out in my shop with me, which is where I'm at right now.
Nice.
So he tends to go to work with me. I either have him or my 2-year-old following me around, so you never know.
So you have apprentices already. Nice.
I do. I feel like I'm training a little badass in the making. Like she's she's going to run the world at some point, and she gets to hang out with mom and dad and work all day. And so we're probably creating an entrepreneur in the making who won't want to work for anyone else. But no, she's great. She's fun. She's fun to have around until she's not.
So for anybody that's listening and they're not used to what it is that you make, tell them what it is that you do in your name.
So my name is Chele Archer. I am the owner of Archer's Arrows by Chele. And I'm also the owner of the Boo-tique. So those are the two companies that I own, but I create inappropriately appropriate home goods. So if you're looking for something that has swear words on it, or is just out of the norm, not something that you're going to get at Target, that's crass or sassy or sarcastic, it's something that I do and I create. So we sell anything from coffee mugs to towels to cutting boards, and they're all designed in-house and created in-house in our shop.
Just whimsical creations. And I know that pretty much everybody that listens to this is a fan of whimsy. Yes.
We love what we get to do. We work a lot with Oddities and Curiosities Expo. So we're on the road with them, traveling quite a bit to sling our goods. And we are a little bit different because in a world of like taxidermy and dead animals and butterflies and things like that that are pinned, we bring a little bit of light and sarcasm and laughter. So we get a lot of people that are like, oh, okay, this is a breath of fresh air in a sea of taxidermy, which, I mean, we enjoy both, but I love hearing people come into my booth and just laugh at the crazy things that we've created.
Especially when you're going through and you're seeing, various kinds of taxidermy. And then, when people really use their imaginations, they can really make some really creative but slightly horrific taxidermy. And then I imagine going into your booth is sort of like the breath of fresh air. It's like going into the candle shop and you smell the coffee first.
Exactly. That's what we hope we are. I mean, one of the booths that we had, we were right next to Coble Taxidermy, and they had like an 8-foot giraffe mount. And so it was bizarre that it was just like, every time I'd look over the partition, you could just see this giraffe head sticking out. So yeah, we work with some fun people, and I mean, they make crazy cool stuff. And our goal is just to add something that for people like me who tend to have like a dark sense of humor, but also just enjoy laughter and a good time. I couldn't find a lot of things that I enjoyed as far as like coffee mugs to get for someone.
Right.
So that was where it kind of came out of. My assistant has a crazy sense of humor like I do. And so we create we have some sketchy stuff, but then we also have like the normal, it'll make your mom laugh as well. Maybe blush, but laugh at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, he got to go all ratings. So when you first started getting into crafting, like how old were you?
Oh gosh. I remember my dad going back to college for graphite drawing. So he would do pencil drawings and things like that. And he went back to school to become a graphic artist. And this was when, I mean, you got antiquated systems that are like computers are barely starting to do that kind of stuff. That's when he went back to school for it. And so it was always something that was a part of my life. I grew up, my mom is super crafty, mainly around like Christmas and stuff like that. So we always had an outlet. We were fortunate enough to be able to take classes and things like pottery making and at an early age. So I was able to start learning different textiles and things that I wanted to work with. So I've done anything from slinging pots to soldering jewelry, now to making coffee mugs. One of the coolest things that I get to make that I do one of a kind are these huge moss moons with actual living moss. that we put on a crescent moon. And then I also put different things. It depends on either the order or kind of my demographic. And I'm currently looking at one that has a coyote skull and has oyster mushrooms that are going all the way up the side. So we do a lot of different things in the shop that I learned at an early age. And I think it just kind of transferred over. My parents always teased that they'd give me a coloring page, and I was never one to color inside the lines. I always wanted to color everything outside. And so my mom was like, I just knew. She's like, I just knew you were not going to be like the mainstream artists that we see, but you were always going to think out of the box. And that's definitely, I mean, they allowed me to flourish and bloom. And I think that was a huge benefit for that.
Yeah, when you're not getting any sort of restrictions put on your imagination, and they're arming you with the skills to, I guess, to make any sort of art that comes to your brain. I mean, it's a win-win combination, you know?
Yeah, it is. I don't think that my mom foresaw me putting like a massive fuck on the side of the cup or something, especially because she was an assistant pastor all my life. But like, I'll send some things that I know that she's just going to be like, oh, Michelle, I cannot believe it. But then she's laughing at the same time. So she definitely, there's things that she's like, just shakes her head at, that she's like, okay, well, I'm just happy you're doing what you love.
That's really
yeah. I've got a good support system. I mean, like I said, it's not for everyone. My humor isn't for everyone. But I mean, different strokes for different folks. You never know what someone's going to like and what they're not. So we kind of cater to a wide variety of whimsical to a section that we have to label like adult only. So the kids aren't coming in and being like, Mom, what does that say? So we do. Yeah, we just have it kind of across the board. I'm able to use my art and my design skills to just kind of go crazy. And I mean, like I said, I do everything in-house. If I didn't draw the item myself or I didn't create it in a program, I'm paying another artist their royalty fee in order to use their art. So if I'm not able to do a specific piece of art, I'm more than happy to find an artist that can and be able to support them as well. And I think just keeping it small like that makes a big difference in our shop.
Yeah, how often do you get like orders for like custom orders?
You broke up a little bit. Did you say custom orders?
Yeah, custom orders.
We get it on a regular basis. Like I said, I have the two businesses, and the other aspect of my work is that I help businesses brand themselves. And then I also create branded items for the businesses. So we get quite a few custom orders from businesses that want their items on our towels or our mugs. And then when we're doing something like a custom artwork or a different piece, we can range from anywhere having 3 in 1 month to having 30 in 1 month. It just depends on the month and the need, really. So it just ranges for us, which keeps me busy and keeps me on my toes when we're not traveling with oddities. I love it.
I know, like, every artist has their inspiration and stuff, and, we all kind of bite from here and there when we're making our own thing. Is there any one particular artist that you always, like, kind of sneaks its way into whatever you're doing, no matter how much you try to avoid it?
That's a really good question. So I've always, and it's like total polar opposite from kind of what I do, because it's like a good Christian type of thing. But Norman Rockwell was always big in our house.
Yeah. I mean, Norman Rockwell is quintessential, you grew up with seeing those calendars on your grandma's wall,
And that, I think it helps as far as like kind of my drive. My dad loved him, so we had him everywhere in our house growing up. And so that's always been something that's been kind of that like whimsical. I'm really I love pinup. So like Gil is one of my all-time favorites. Gil Abgren is amazing. He drew so many pinups. So that is another one that I kind of look at. And then as far as like other artists, Ansel Adams, I was really big into photography growing up, and kind of let that go a little bit. I do film mainly when I do photography, but Ansel Adams was a big artist and someone that I followed quite a bit growing up as well. But I mean, when I look at some of my stuff that I've made, especially like our pinup line, we have a few different lines that we carry. So my pinup line that I've done, that I've either drawn or pieced together, has really taken off from my love for Norman Rockwell, I would have to say. So you'll see some of our pinup stuff that kind of has that feeling that you get when you would look at like any of his stuff. So I would definitely say those would be my big motivators, or people that I would emulate, I guess.
So what all mediums do you work in?
Oh gosh. Everything, probably too much.
I understand that. It's like, it's easier for me to name what I don't do.
Yeah. Let's start. No, I'm just kidding. One of my favorite things, if I'm doing something on actual paper or canvas, I love pastels, chalk pastels. It's one of my favorite things. Growing up, I had done some really cool canvas prints with pastels that we actually had displayed in our little town as like one of the art fairs. I was picked to display it. But I mean, I have a piece in my office right now that it's a punk rock looking Jesus on a cross in graphite, and then around it is all chalk pastels. And it's one of my favorite pieces that I've done. So that's one. I mean, my mom didn't like it very much, but what can I say? So that's one of my favorite things if I'm going to do something like actual physical. And then I use Procreate on my iPad quite a bit. With having a 2-year-old, I don't really have the space anymore to just keep my sketchbook like on the side of my bed or like on the side of the couch that I used to, because she's going to find it and start to color as well. But she does a great job. But I've started using Procreate on my iPad because of that reason. I'm able to actually like save my artwork and then pick up where I'm at. So at any given time, like right now I have probably 3 different pieces I'm working on. I found Procreate when the world was shut down with the pandemic in 2020 and started actually a bondage theme of graphite that I did on there. So that's one of my favorites. I use Procreate a lot because I'm able to draw and then transfer it directly into some sort of application or program and then put that onto coffee mugs and towels and things like that.
Yeah, if it allows for that vector export, you can put it on anything. And it's
my favorite one that I just did. I've been trying to get myself back into sketching again because I kind of took a little bit of a leave. But I did a real quick skeleton, like a skull sketch, and liked it enough and had good enough feedback that I was like, you know what, we're going to put these on cutting boards. So a lot of the things that I've drawn or sketched go directly onto physical products that I'm selling. Just because I think that especially our demographic with oddities and curiosities love to see the weird and the bizarre. So a lot of my sketches are like that, and I'm able to put it onto product that people will use and be able to appreciate and look at daily. Like
just anything that falls outside of that live, love, laugh, you know. Was it? I can't even say it right. I hate the saying so much. Live, love, laugh. There we go. It's so hard to make that even come out.
That like just made me cringe. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it wants to fight. Like it's like no. But yeah, anything outside of that, especially when it comes to any sort of home goods or decor, There's always going to be a market because there's so many of us who we just don't want Old Navy vomiting all over our house every day. So the fact that you not only provide, whimsical articles and whatnot, but they're also, they're based on, kind of rock and roll, you said with the, not only the Elfgren influence, but maybe even Vargas. Do you like Vargas too?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, and mixing that with Norman Rockwell, you're going to really always get something unique, especially if it's coming from, someone's mind when they're just taking their influences and putting them together, but then being like, but here's the thing, I don't want this to be like everything else is. I'm going to unabashedly be me, put this out, put it up the flagpole and see who salutes it. I dig that.
Yeah. I love it too. Like it can definitely be a major ego stroke. Then there's like the flip side of having like total imposter syndrome where you're like, oh my gosh. And I think every small business owner goes through that roller coaster of like, oh my God, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Holy shit, we're doing awful. Like, what am I doing? Why did I start this business? And then we do events or we get feedback from someone that loved our product and they're like, I just really appreciate Michelle's sense of humor and personality that's coming out in this. But like, I mean, we're kind of all over the board. Speaking of the live, love, laugh.
Oh, you did better than me.
We actually created a coffee mug that was kind of funny with that like, just that like shitty script that you see, the font, and then we put the live, love, laugh, and then I crossed it out and I put just don't be a dick. And that's one of our like best sellers because people are like, I hate that saying. My mom has it everywhere. And like the fact that you just crossed it out in big red bold letters, but don't be a dick. Like that just sums it up. And that's kind of one of my like, I'm all about empowering other people and like empowering small businesses and other people. And like, we kind of just live by that motto of like, just don't be a dick, like be happy. I believe in the religion of love. And I mean, that's just part of my mantra. Just don't be a dick. So that has been a really good seller. I also get people that are like, I don't understand this. We've had a few people that are like, I just don't get this. I mean, we have a coffee mug of Ed Gein, the serial killer, and it just has like half of his face kind of peeking up from the bottom of the coffee mug that says, looking like a snack. And I mean, it's odd things like that we have, or like Ted Bundy all over the place on a coffee mug, and it says, "I'm such a ladies' man." So things like that are just really, they're kind of fucked up, but they're also pretty funny if you have a sense of humor and kind of let go of some of that stuff. I mean, I don't condone anything that they've done to their victims, but I mean, we live in such a world that we just don't have laughter readily available. I feel like all the time, everyone's so ready to get offended. And I mean, some of that is, I get it. Like you should be offended, but then there's other things that are like, okay, like this is just a joke, like looking like a snack. You got to admit it's kind of fucked up, but it's funny too. So. Well,
I mean, that's one of the reasons you're on this show is because this is somewhere where people who are kind of fucked up but still funny. This is where we come to be kind of fucked up and funny at the same time.
Exactly, and I think that's why, like, you're in my sense of humor. I feel like I've always gotten along with you, just with the like. Some of the stuff that you post, I'm like, oh, that just speaks to my like weirdness in my heart. Like, I love it. It makes me happy.
We met at your wedding.
Life is just too short. Like, life is too short not to laugh. And I mean, I've dealt with some major autoimmune issues that I didn't know if I was going to survive at times. That like, I've just learned to have a sense of humor and know that like you can't take life too seriously because it could just go away at any moment.
Isn't that the truth? And it was one thing I've learned, especially from being around my friends who join me on the island of misfit toys regularly. It comes in as trauma and it comes out as humor, you know?
That's exactly it. And I mean, there's so much of us that have dealt with trauma in our life that, like, if you're not going to come out the other side alive and laughing, like, I don't know, you can't just live in your misery all the time, I think. And for me, it is a coping mechanism. It's like laughing at my dumb jokes that I think of. And there's times that my husband is like, that's really fucked up. And I'm like, I have to remind him that he's the one that married me, number one. But also, like, I'll have to ask him, like, is this over the top? Like, is this too far? Am I pushing the envelope too far in this one? But my assistant, like I said, my assistant's very much the same as me. And, like, I'll send her a design that I just, like, thought of out of nowhere. And she's like, oh my God, that's hilarious. But you need to keep in mind X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, she helps keep me a little bit grounded. So does my husband. So it's nice having that. I mean, not everything is going to be a grand slam. One big fail that we had, which we thought was hilarious. Not everyone did, but we made a coffee mug with Trump's face on it, with how he has butthole lips puckering. And we just spelled asshole with it. And that was kind of a fail. Like, that didn't go over with everyone. And it was only because mainly people didn't want to look at him while they're drinking their coffee. And I get that. So, I mean, we've had some learning experiences, and even though we think it's funny, it's not everything is going to work out. But I think we finally, when I started my business, I was working with, like I said, creating labels for essential oilers. And, not everyone has the sense of humor I do have. And that demographic definitely didn't. And I just felt like, okay, I had the opportunity to sell that portion of my business. And I was like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep following my oddities and hang out with the people that get me and get my sense of humor. Because that's it. Like I said, it's just, if I'm going to be running the business, I want to do it exactly the way that I like it. And that I know is working. And obviously we have enough people out there that think our stuff is great that has kept us in business for this long. And I mean, we're getting ready to go to Louisville, Kentucky here at the beginning of next month to sell a bunch of our home goods. And it's fun to see messages come in and people be like, are you bringing this? Are you going to bring this mug? I'm like, yes. So we've created quite a good following, and I just love what I do. And I feel like it comes out in my product. It comes out in the quality of work. I like the fact that we get to do everything in-house because it keeps quality control top notch. So we have a little bin at our shows that if it's not up to my, like, OCD quality of artwork, then it gets put into a thing called our $5 fuck ups. So people still get to get the item, even if it's just slightly, maybe it's off center or it's crooked, but they still get to enjoy something for a good price. And that's what I want. I want for people to be able to afford my stuff and enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, the crowd that we know, the crowd that we hang out with, we're not a bunch of high rollers, but yet we appreciate creativity and we want to support independent artists. And I think that hopefully this show will, I don't know, maybe bring you 1, 2, maybe 30 more customers. You never know.
I'm always down for more customers. And like I said before, I love doing custom designs for people. So if it's something that you have in your head and you might just not have the ability to do it, you can always shoot me a message and be like, hey, I have this idea. I don't know how to execute it. Maybe can you work on this? And I am hireable. I'll put it that way.
Well, fantastic as far as that's concerned, because I imagine that anyone that's listening to this might be thinking, I have this one item that I wish I could get this one thing on, and I want it done right. And now they know they can come to you.
Yep. And we do, like I said, we do anything from, hand sketched, hand painted stuff to massive vinyls. Like we do industrial size vinyls. So you think of storefronts. We can do things that are anywhere from 24 inches to however big you want. Like we have the capability to do everything in house. And we specialize in sublimation heat dye for a lot of our products, as far as like our towels and our coffee mugs. And then we're now releasing all of our wooden items, leather items, things like that. We do a lot of vegan leather as well. And we do laser etching. So we have the capability to pretty much do anything from 1 item to 1,000 items, depending on what the person needs. So, like I said, I love helping small businesses grow. If it's something that I can do as wholesale, I'll totally help someone out. So that's my jam.
Yeah, you never know when people have a great idea, but they just kind of need that guiding hand in order to actually make it into reality, that you can help them with that. And they could just contact you just like they were placing an order if it was, I don't know, something they were looking for, right?
Yep. Yeah, I am able to be reached on my social media outlets, which is at Archer's Arrows by Shell. And it's CHELE. For Michelle shortened. And then I can be contacted on my email as well at hello@archersarrows.com. So we're really, I'm pretty good at responding really quick, and letting you know timeframes and things like that. But, yeah, we love helping individuals and small businesses and big businesses as well. Like I enjoy being able to get a product into someone's hand that they just absolutely love. And
obviously with a spin of possible whimsy.
Yes. Yeah, if you let me have my creative wings spread, then you're going to get something that you're not going to see elsewhere. And I mean, well, I would hope you're not going to see elsewhere. We'll put it that way.
And I think that's one of the main reasons I really wanted to have you on, is because your products are so unique.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, like I said before, we love hearing people laugh. We've pissed people off and got death threats for some mugs. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, I'm just going to keep doing what I love doing. And I hope you like it, but if you don't, then there's going to be someone else that's down the road that you're going to be able to find. So,
well, thank you so much for being on and telling us all about, I don't know, how you actually arrived to the process of some of the ideas that you come up with, because they're rad.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I think this is an awesome outlet, and I mean, I can't wait to hear everyone else that you've have coming and going. So thanks, Skip. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Shell.
All right. That'll be all for today. Remember, peace, love throughout the world, and don't forget to rock and roll.